we are live. Welcome back to the Progress Report, everyone. Did miss an episode last week. I wasn't feeling well and I didn't have time to book guests, but we're back with a vengeance. We got big guests, big things here today. Two first-comers to the channel. First time for me talking to both these guys. So first up, we got Jackson Hinkle, somebody who exploded onto the YouTube scene over the last couple years. 200,000 subscribers basically overnight. I have to admit, I've only watched a little bit of your stuff here and there. I think I heard something about you were trying to debate Vosh like a year or two ago. And I was like, I'm going to follow this guy because I want to see Vosh get wrecked. Yeah. I'm always down. Did you ever, by the way, did that ever happen? Did you ever debate him?
I did. And then he never debated me again.
Yeah. It's funny how that goes. I want to watch that though. I haven't seen that. Check that out. But so I don't know a lot about you. I'm still kind of trying to figure it out. Before the show, I Googled you, and one thing I saw is that you were still in high school in 2018.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm not a lawyer. Yeah, but I think there's like still some blue states where it's legal to abort you. Like you're basically a bundle of cells still.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I don't know if that has anything to do with this next thing. I don't want to pigeonhole you or anything. I'm trying to figure you out, but as far as I can tell, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're basically a communist. Is that correct? Or
conservative communist? Yes.
A conservative communist. Okay, that is wild. All right, so we're gonna get those hot MAGA communism takes today. Good to know. And then we have Auron MacIntyre, somebody who I'm proud to say I was following before it was cool. I think I followed you on YouTube when you had like 1,000 subs and maybe like 4,000 or 5,000 Twitter followers, and you have grown a lot over the last year or two, and that's been great to see.
Yeah, no, thanks, man. I remember, you get those little notifications if a big channel follows you, and I saw you're on there. I was like, oh man, this is amazing. Yeah, that was wild. But no, been a long time fan of the account, of course. So great to finally be able to get on here.
Awesome. All right, guys. So I don't know if you've seen the show before, but basically I have some clips lined up for us to watch. We'll use those as fodder to get into some discussions about. Now, I was doing 30 minutes. The first episode I did 45 minutes. That was way too much. I went down to 30 minutes. For this episode, I went down to like 23 minutes of clips because I'm trying to still figure out the formula for not going too long and making sure people have a chance to talk and stuff like that. So feel free to talk. Don't feel obligated. If a clip is playing and you want to say something, just speak up and I'll pause it. Okay. And without further ado, I guess we're ready to get into it unless you guys have any more comments or questions you want to. All right, let's hit it.
Sounds good.
Come here. Yeah, come.
All right, so this is a really quick one, and it's obviously boomer humor tier. But the first part of the sign said like, they never canceled Jeffrey Epstein's bank account, but you know who they did? Kanye, the MyPillow guy. So, I mean, we don't need a deep analysis on the sign, but it will kind of play into the theme of today's show, which is double standards and things of that nature. And I will say, I kind of think that's unfathomably based to have a sign like that. And I would personally go like 3 or 4 miles at least out of my way to buy gas there if it was in my area. I don't know. What do you guys think about this?
Yeah, I would do the same. I mean, it's so crazy what's happening right now. You got the entire press that is grilling, Kyrie Irving and Kanye West, for example, beyond belief. They're losing major contracts. They're getting kicked out of the league for voicing their opinion. Yet just 2 years ago, they're all wearing Black Lives Matter jerseys. And then, of course, you bring up the hypocrisy of how the media treated Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. It's like they have like the gloves on when they're talking to them, and they're super nice to them compared to Kanye and Kyrie.
Well, Epstein's got a lot more goods, or had a lot more goods than Kanye does, probably. So that certainly doesn't hurt.
Yeah, I do have the Kyrie Irving stuff. That's one I really want to dig into a little bit because it's crazy what's happening with him. But we have the clip of him later, so we'll get to that later on.
I posted this beautiful photo of myself on Monday to celebrate my birthday. And what I received was a lot of hate comments. I got a lot of love, but some of these comments were really hurtful and some of them were just downright disgusting. And the only reason I got any of these comments is because I'm transgender. It's because of this one part of my body that exists in this photo. This image of myself is not meant to be a thirst trap. It's not meant to be vulgar. It's not even meant to be in your face. This is simply an image of my body existing.
So what's the conservative communist take on something like this?
Mental illness is a big issue in our country today. That's the take. I mean, like, imagine if you had guys walking around and doing this, like guys, and I mean, you get it in LA enough with these guys in the spandex and they're like biking everywhere and shit. And it is what it is, but it's like, it's disgusting. And what is this? This is just, I mean, you know, you have to adhere to the YouTube community guidelines. All I got to say is there's a big mental illness problem in our country today.
Yeah, I mean, this is a part of the dialectic, right? You get to hang this out there. You get to kind of draw people in with the shock value of the initial image, and then you get to complain about the comments and claim the grievance, and that generates the attention that you're looking for and also the victim status that you're looking for. So it's its own kind of grievance economy, all contained in one image, which is exactly why it got posted in the first place. These people know they're going to do this before they even put it on the internet.
Yeah, I mean, it's a kind of exhibitionism too, isn't it? Like, like there's, you know, this exhibitionism paraphilia. You got these guys who like go and expose themselves out on the street and it's like they want to make you uncomfortable. That's kind of part of the sexual fetish of the thing. I did a deep dive on like serial killers and why there seems to be like an abnormal amount of serial killers who are cross-dressers, and I was going over all the research and stuff like that, and one of the things I found was that a lot of them have these paraphilias, these sexual fetishes, and exhibitionism was actually the most common paraphilia. So there's kind of a Venn diagram crossover of the fetishism and the transgender stuff, but yeah, we'll just leave it there and keep pushing.
Not hidden, not tucked away, not ashamed, but proud and standing in my power as a transgender person who has fought so hard to love myself and love my body.
So that's the problem.
A student came up to me in front of everyone and said, "Miss Shayna, are you Jewish?" And I responded with, "Why are you asking?" And their response was, "'Cause it's concerning." And I said, "Why is it concerning?" And they said, "Because it's not good." And then another student shouted out, "Kanye West hates Jews."
Okay, I don't have a whole lot to say about that one, except for when the episode of I have the version of the show that's just the clips, and when it premiered on Sunday night, somebody said Jew on head. Because she looks kind of like shoe on.
I don't
know. Did you guys have anything you wanted to say about that clip, or?
I saw the clip. My initial reaction to that when I saw it first was like, what are the odds of that actually being a real story?
I mean, you always wonder, right? It's probably, maybe it's exaggerated a little bit. Like maybe the kid was just asking, "Are you Jewish?" and she added the "it's bad" part, you know, or maybe the kid implied it. You never know. There's like some troll high school students. So it could be true. Who knows? You never know.
Not being protected in our schools. I'm a Christian student, yet I am not just speaking for myself. I'm speaking for my friends of faith who are fearful and don't have the confidence to speak about their experience. My friends that share my faith have shared with me that they don't feel safe, that they don't feel like they can be themselves at school. I've had to stay quiet in my experience while people talk about Christianity as horrible in my class when I know that I'm not a person of hate. One of my friends in class, bravely spoke during a class discussion and said she believed in God and Jesus as her savior, but because of that comment, she was called a racist, transphobic, hater, and even a Nazi.
Okay, So I have mixed feelings about that, but maybe Auron, do you have any thoughts on that?
Sure. I mean, obviously, whenever you're looking at the experiences of young people, and this is true of the last clip too, right? You have to remember, like, these are kids and they're feeling out their identities and experiences. And the culture we have is one that has them seek, kind of victimhood in every area. However, at the same time, I think that there is obviously a very negative approach to religion in public schools, especially when it comes to Christianity. And I think it's pretty obvious. As always, my point is there's no such thing as a secular institution. There's no such thing as a secular society. There's no such thing as an objective and completely neutral public education. Every education is going to be pushing a point of view and a worldview and a moral system. And it's very clear that the one that's being pushed in the United States public education right now is rather hostile to religion in general and Christianity very specifically. So maybe some percentage of this is a young person just being a young person and feeling kind of everything they interact with that challenges their identity is something that is hostile. But at the same time, I think there is a very real, that the perception probably has a lot of validity when it comes to what's being taught in the classroom.
Yeah, you kind of hit what I was going at with my mixed feelings. It's like, yes, that sort of animosity is real, but the way you want to respond to it is maybe not by kind of crying about it, basically, but it's like you say, they're young, so you got to, not be too hard on them, give them a pass. But I would like to see people like that be guided into having more of a position of strength where they're just willing to take the persecution a little bit more stoically, a little bit more on the chin, and be like, my beliefs are unshakable or whatever. You say what you want, but men can't be women or whatever, just kind of like throw it back in their face, like throw the persecution back their way, basically, a little bit. Jackson, as a conservative communist, conservatives, we tend to think of Christians, not necessarily, but generally speaking, communist, atheists, where are you just on the religion question in general? And what do you think about that clip?
Well, I think most of the people that I associate with that are communists are religious, mostly Muslim or Christian. Okay. But as for the clip, I mean, we do, like, Satanism and the religion of globalism have taken over in the collective West. And I do think it's a big problem. And I think it's become like the hot thing. It's become the fad, just as like, any sort of like LGBTQ ideology or whatever has become the fad. Being anti-Christian has become the fad, and being anti-free speech has become the fad. But I do agree with what you guys are saying about how she should just throw it back at them. Don't be a pussy about it,
Yeah.
Of times when people are asked, why don't you date fat people, trans people, people of color, whatever, they will say, it's just a preference. I'm just not attracted to them. I can't make myself be attracted to someone I'm just not attracted to. The implication here being that preferences are innate, unchanging, and completely independent of any outside factors or societal norms. And therefore, that they are inherently unproblematic. Like, it's not fat phobia, it's just who I am. I can't help it. But I think it's actually a lot more complicated than that. Our desires are not immune to social conditioning. Although, of course, you can't change your sexual orientation, when we see a certain type of body glorified, praised, and labeled as desirable in media from the time that we can even process those messages, it's not going to not have an impact on us. And the fact is, at least anecdotally, lots of fat people report being desired by many people. But the piece that isn't there is the social acceptance. And again, that's also true for other marginalized identities. Maybe you are sexually attracted to fat people, but you can't see yourself in a romantic relationship with one because you've never seen that replicated in media. Or maybe you love a fat person, but you're too afraid of what your friends and family would say if you introduced them. Or you're too afraid of what it would say about you to be with someone who is lower on the desirability totem pole.
All right. So, I mean, I'm sure we've all heard those kind of takes before. It's nothing exactly groundbreaking, but the reason I wanted to include that video, because what stood out to me is the part where she says, obviously you can't choose your sexuality. That is like a liberal dogma part of the liberal religion, right? One of the tenets is your sexuality, the sex that you are attracted to is just an immutable aspect of your personality. You can't control it. You can't change it. You can't choose it. But if you ask her to explain, why is that? Like, what are the mechanisms behind that? They don't have any answers for that at all. It's just on faith. That's a liberal belief that's taken on faith. But then maybe you would want to be attracted to a fat person. You just got to be conditioned or whatever to believe that. I don't know. Do you guys have anything you want to add to that?
Well, the neat trick that happens here is they medicalize everything, right? So obviously your sexual preference is innate and unchangeable. And there are other things about you that are biologically innate and unchangeable. But some of them are good and some of them are bad, right? So the defense is you can't change this preference, and so therefore it's automatically good and natural. But if your preference is for a more attractive or physically fit mate, that one can be changed. It doesn't matter that both of them come from the same justification. They just go ahead and switch the rhetoric when it's time for something that they prefer. And so even though they want to link everything back to having this biological root and it being unchangeable, it turns out actually these things become immediately changeable as soon as they become inconvenient to the coalition. So it's one of those things where you have the justifying narrative of kind of science being the core of this, or biological, foundation being the core of this. But as soon as you find something inconvenient, they just switch it. There's the contradiction is not a problem for them. It's they just move beyond it with no problem.
Yeah. I mean, it's going back to the mental illness thing in our country today. It's like, she is doing this whole video about how, we normalize skinny people or fit people, and we normalize fit people in relationships with each other in this country. And that's a problem. No, the problem is that now we have all these brands and companies that are normalizing fat people and unhealthy lifestyles. Exactly. And people who are eating 20 Big Macs every day and have never seen a gym in the past 10 years. That's the unhealthy thing for our society. How wrong is it that this is what's going viral now? This is what's being judged as normal content on the internet, that we are normalizing fat bodies. This is why our country is so unhealthy, and why we have so many problems with fat people generally, and why life expectancy is going down, and you have people eating all these seed oils and unhealthy foods. It's a huge problem, and it's just crazy to see that this is being normalized. And it wasn't always like this. We used to value athleticism and healthy diets and healthy lifestyles in this country, and it's all changing.
Yeah. There's also a bit of a gender imbalance when it comes to that, isn't there? Men today still do, at least relative to women, right, are more, when you go to the gym, you're going to see more men than women, and you're going to see more fit men than you are going to see women, which is also creating kind of a disruption in the sexual marketplace. I don't really like that term, but people know what it means, and the dating market and stuff like that. I think long story short is instead of, you made that whole TikTok video, maybe you should have just spent those 15 minutes on the treadmill or something. Maybe that'd have been a better use of your time, Okay.
Democrats had been undermining the Constitution and undermining democracy. And that the book that is coming out tomorrow is on exactly that topic, how the Department of Justice and the FBI have been turned into partisan weapons to attack the political opponents of the Biden administration.
But your guy that you're supporting gave no respect to the Justice Department, gave no respect to how it's supposed to work. He doesn't recognize a subpoena. We got to fight to get people to come and do something. Well, you're talking about we corrupted it. You guys don't pay any attention to it. Well,
that's a great talking point.
Sir, I don't do talking points. This is just how I feel.
But it happens not to be true.
Oh, honey.
So if you look at, you guys at the beginning of the show had this long discussion about, is Donald Trump going to testify under oath? Of course he's not. Nobody thinks he is. And by the way, did Barack Obama testify under oath? No.
He never defied a congressional subpoena.
But you know,
right.
you know who did? You know who did?
Eric Holder.
Eric Holder, the Attorney General of the United States, was held in contempt and tried to cover up the malfeasance of the Department of Justice. He refused to show up for the subpoena. He was held in contempt
Donald
of
Trump
Congress
weaponized the
and
Department
nothing.
of Justice.
Give me one example.
Bill Barr. Real quick.
Okay, you said a name.
Let me
What
get a
did Bill
chance
Barr
to
do?
get
Okay,
in.
weaponized. Give me the target that was persecuted, because I can tell you who the Democrats, Merrick Garland, directed the FBI to go after moms and dads who go to school boards and to treat them as domestic terrorists using the Patriot Act. That is fundamentally wrong.
Yeah, so again, I don't have like a lot of thoughts on that. I do wonder after episode, and I know everybody has like mixed feelings about Ted Cruz for the most part. He's good on some things, maybe not so good on other things. But I do wonder, like, when something like that happens at The View, do they think like, wow, we fucked up bringing him on, or are they like, wow, we wrecked him there, you know? I don't know. There is a funny thing. Yeah,
I think
no,
their
go ahead.
audience is so stupid that it really doesn't matter. I mean, the viewers of The View do not have any sort of like ability to look at things objectively. So when they see him come on, they say he's the bad guy, they're the good people, whatever. And they just want their little debate points, like who just owned who, whatever. It's not about any sort of substantive discussion as to how the DOJ is being weaponized under the Biden administration to target political, opponents or adversaries. And then you can also boil it down to the fact that no one is really talking about the criminality of the DOJ, regardless of the presidential administration in place, going after political dissidents like Julian Assange and stuff like that. There's no discussion of that whatsoever anywhere on the press. So it's just complete brain dead discussion.
Yeah, I did see there's a big report, real quick, and then I'll let you go on. There's a big report the GOP put out the other day. I don't know if you guys saw this, about whistleblowers in the FBI and the DOJ, all kinds of whistleblowers. I haven't had a chance to look at it in depth because it's like 1,000 pages. It just came out the other day. But they have whistleblowers saying that in the FBI, they're being pressured to reclassify people as white supremacists to pump up the white supremacy numbers and things of that nature, which kind of ties into this whole, the weaponization of these institutions. But I need to actually take a deeper look at the report before I really talk about it a lot. But so go ahead, Auron.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, it's great that the Republicans are accumulating the receipts of things that we already knew that was going on. But the real question is, what are they going to do with it, right? Like, as Jackson was pointing out, like when these people are in office, they don't care. They don't make actual meaningful changes in this kind of thing. This behavior continues often with Republicans in office, even in the White House. And so the question is, are Republicans going to have the guts to say the FBI needs to be gutted? It needs to be it's not about reform. It's not about switching some people out of the top. It's about an institution that is completely corrupt, top to bottom. It is unsalvageable. And you need a entirely different way at looking at federal law enforcement in the United States. And if you don't have leadership that's talking about that, then as good as Ted Cruz looks in that, it's just him talking, right? Like a lot of the GOP is basically just doing what we're doing on Twitter. Like that's all they actually get done. It's great. I'm glad that they're picking up some of these things as talking points. I'm glad that some of this stuff is filtering into the mainstream, but these are the people who are supposed to have power. I mean, I have some theories about where power actually lies, but these people are supposed to be able to make moves on this. So if they actually have any interest in change, they need to show more than just here's the things that the FBI did. It's like, okay, you have the power. What do we do next?
Yeah. And I'll follow up on that and say those that are most outspoken on the issues that have kind of risen to the surface over the past 2 years or so of the Biden administration, like all the MAGA conservatives within the Republican Party in Congress, if they want to get anything done, like take funding for Ukraine, for example, if they really are serious about stopping funding for Ukraine, the endless flow of taxpayer dollars over there, then they should tell political leadership in the GOP that they're not gonna vote for them to become Speaker of the House. They're not gonna approve their agenda, whatever it may be, unless they get certain substantive policy-based guarantees. And I don't think we've seen that yet. It's just kind of what you just said. It's like we see people going out on stump speeches and saying we're going to do this or that. It's the same old political spiels that you always hear. Let's see them finally do something. They're going to have a huge majority and they can get a lot done.
Yeah, I was just going to say, hopefully we have some more leverage after the election here to maybe see some changes. I don't know, though, that like getting rid of the FBI, that sounds like a kind of pie in the sky. That's like when people say we're going to get rid of the Fed. You know, I don't know how realistic that is as a goal, but I understand where you're coming from on that, Auron. All right, moving on.
I can ride
the
it
real
while
important
you
stuff here.
I can do.
Has science gone too far, you guys?
All them little tricks and keep the dick up inside.
Up there is reporting, Martha, that the suspect was arrested in his underwear and the authorities.
Oh, this is the Nancy Pelosi tab. This is kind of older clip from when it was first a developing story.
Have found a manifesto, as they put it, on social media involving conspiracy theories, including anti-government COVID beliefs. As for
yeah, so the Nancy Pelosi attacker story, that was a wild ride. Do you guys have anything you want to say on that topic?
Yeah, I was going to touch on this on my stream tomorrow because I think there's, of course, a lot going on here. But I think the most interesting aspect has been watching the media kind of just disappear this in real time, like just walk back every one of their reports as they happen and then immediately jump on people who are just referencing their reports as you go along. So like Politico will report that there's a third party in the House, and then they'll say, actually, anyone who says there's a third party in the House is a conspiracy theorist. And then we had, was it NBC who did the report saying that actually the attacker, the alleged attacker, was in the house for a long time before the police arrived. And when the police arrived, there wasn't initially a problem and they didn't want the attacker out of there. And actually Paul Pelosi was walking away from the police and towards the attacker. And then they disappeared their own reporting on this from the internet. They scrub it. Yeah, they scrub it from the internet. They delete the tweet. They pull the report off of their website. Like they in real time, they walk this whole thing back. And this happened in multiple stages. Like the media kept covering this and accidentally, I guess, revealing things that weren't supposed to be there. And then they got removed. And then people who referenced them were called conspiracy theorists who supported violence, political violence. Like it's just been insane.
Yeah, and of course Elon Musk's drove like the Democrats crazy when he responded to like Hillary Clinton with a story. I don't know if the audience saw this, but Elon Musk sends like this kind of like sketchy tabloid website story in response to a Hillary Clinton tweet. He's like, there might be more to this story, and the article that he posted, it was all about how like Paul Pelosi is a homosexual and these guys are like, I don't know, gigolos who are, or one of them, the guy who let them, and they're, you know, I don't know, is wild. I don't know how true that is, but just the fact that he did that is absolutely hilarious.
To spray me. It makes me feel about this big.
Yeah, that's how they feel when you misgender them. So now you know the feeling. Just get it right and you won't have to get sprayed.
Yeah, so here's what's going on. She is misgendering our partners, like my partner, my spouse, and then my sister's partner as well. Yeah, and she's known them for years and years. So we tried telling her nicely, and now we're balance training.
So they're, for people who didn't quite catch what was going on there, they're like spraying their mom with a water, the way you would like spray a cat if it misbehaves, if she misgenders her apparently gaggle of queer middle-aged children.
Isn't it funny? And you can look back to the video of the person with the dick in the skirt. Like, it always starts out with the simplest of requests. Just like, don't say like abundantly bigoted things towards us. Don't kill us. Don't harass us, whatever. And we'll go on our separate ways and lead a happy life. And then slowly but surely you get to the point where it's like, if you don't ascribe to every single weird little tiny demand that we have, we're going to spray you with a water bottle when you're least expecting it. It's like, they continue to push the envelope until you get to points like this. And that's why we have this insane satanic spiral into a delusional fantasy world where you can just make up what your gender is.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not just we're going to spray you, but we're going to film it, we're going to upload it to the internet, right? It's like this cruel humiliation ritual that you're doing to this old woman who is, you know what I mean? She's accepting of your sexuality. She's like on board, but she maybe forgets to use your weird neo pronouns or whatever the hell it is. And you're going to like this. I mean, it's really cruel when you think about it. I know it's just a goofy TikTok video and not necessarily worthy of a deep analysis, but it's quite cruel to do that to an old woman, like this public humiliation ritual on the internet.
Your mother. Your
mother. You're not just some random old woman, your mother. Yeah.
Well, this is always part of these totalitarian, like total state ideologies, right? Is you have to have the children turning in and informing on and re-educating the parents, right? The younger generation, their duty in the revolution is to destroy that. You have to break down the family bond and the family loyalty to get this complete control, this complete permeation of the culture. And so you're always sending children after their parents whenever you're trying to control people at this level, which I think is a lot of what we're seeing here. And now you have social media, so you can actually see the children post the public humiliation of their parents, so they can signal allegiance, sufficient allegiance to the regime and the ideology.
Yeah, social media has really amplified a lot of these problems.
There you go.
No doubt.
Hold that air in. Push down.
Had I known, if I was a surrogate, and I had known there was going to be an audience, I probably would have waxed. That's just me. That was honestly that was what I didn't expect. I think that was the shocking part for Gage. I don't think Gage has ever seen a vagina.
Okay, so a little bit of context around this story. All right, so you have two homosexual men who have purchased a child via surrogate. We're seeing more and more of this. Dave Rubin and his husband did the same thing. So this is like becoming a thing where gay men like pay a woman to birth a child for them. But in this particular case, the woman did not know, she did not agree to have the birth filmed. And it was filmed and it was aired on Bravo, like a network television. And they were like making fun of her for not waxing before the birth. And she's actually suing Bravo now for the whole, because she never agreed to any of this. Talk about a clusterfuck. Any thoughts on that, or should we just keep moving?
I mean, if you commodify reproduction, you can't be surprised, right? Like if you turn something that's incredibly intimate and like that is supposed to be part of something sacred and part of something that is very close and inside the family, and you turn it into something that people just buy anonymously on the same thing they use to like order a pizza, then you like it. Yes, what happened to this woman is horrible, but it's kind of the predictable outcome that comes once you've just turned her. She's not human anymore. She's a product these guys can buy to create a lifestyle for themselves. And why wouldn't they put it on TV for everyone to see? Just like we went out and bought a new couch, right? Check out our new living room we just remodeled.
Yeah, I hate it. I'm not even necessarily diametrically opposed to like gays adopting. If they're, if they clear all the checks and there's nobody else, like it's not ideal to me. Like to me, a man and a woman is the ideal situation, and all other things being equal, you would choose the man and the woman. But this like surrogate thing of buying children, it's really messed up. I just don't like it. And and birth isn't pretty. It's not, I mean, it's beautiful in its way, but it's not clean. It's not this aesthetic, it's, I don't know what to tell you guys.
So the lawsuits surround.
Oh, this one's
There's no one on this planet that can stop me.
I can call in a favor and send people who aren't from
I have to
this
explain it after, but
Send them all.
as you wish.
It's been a while since anyone's made the world this nervous. Let's go!
Okay, so let me explain what's going on here. I invented a new term when I saw this video, which I'm calling performative soy jacking. So they're watching, I believe it's Black Adam, which is a new superhero movie starring The Rock. Right now, I don't know if you guys know, we have 2 movies in theaters with black superheroes. We have Black Adam and we have Wakanda 2 or Black Panther 2. So I think like probably this is like the least racist era since Barack Obama was elected president. We got 2 black superheroes in the theater at the same time. Anyway, so these guys are at the movie, and I guess, not to do like a big spoiler, but I guess there's a scene where Henry Cavill shows up as Superman in a cameo. And so this guy, he gets like his friend to go down like below the balcony and film him. And then he like soy jacks for the big reveal, you know what I mean? And I know he did it because he tweeted this video out. The guy was like, this is me, my reaction. So he must have been involved in it, because who sits there and films people preemptively before they're making a scene? And it's also funny because you kind of see him like jump the gun a little bit on the first one. Like he was so anticipating it that he kind of went a little bit too early. And I was like, oh shit, it didn't happen yet. And on top of all of that, it kind of looks like he's doing like a Nazi salute on top. So there's a lot.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. And I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on this, but to me, it's just, I don't know. It's fascinating. The consumerism, the whole everything. It just says a lot about society, Well,
this is like the male version of the Instagram boyfriend, right? Like he always outside. Like you go to Paris, but it's only there so you can stage photos and have him follow you around, that kind of thing. So this is kind of the comic book version of that.
Oh, so let me get this, make sure I understand. So the Instagram boyfriend is somebody who's your boyfriend, but really they're just there to take your pictures for you for your Instagram feed. And you're saying like this guy, like whoever his friend is that's filming him, that's like, it's like a friend version of that for a guy. Like you got to film me going crazy for the cape shit.
Yeah, it's like if you've been to a concert lately, like some of the musicians will scream at the audience, like put your phones away, right? Because everyone, they can't see the crowd. Everyone is experiencing the live show they're at through their phone, so they can later show it to everyone and show how great their experience was, right? It's the same like hyper reality abstraction, right? Where like everything is experienced only so that you can then upload it later and show and signal to people like how great your experience was.
Yeah, there's a YouTube channel. I don't know if you guys have seen that channel. What is it even called? The Philosophy Guy. He's a professor. He's talked about like Philosophy Tube and Jordan Peterson. Carefree Wandering, I want to say. But he talks about that a lot. He has some interesting ideas about like something he calls prophilicity, and also what you just talked about with the cameras, like this what does he call it? Second order observations or third order? Like, yeah, it's like what your experience is not actually like experiencing the thing. It's like documenting yourself experiencing the thing. Yeah. You guys, I probably don't even have to ask this, but are you guys into these movies or any? Like, I can't watch any of it anymore, man. I haven't watched a Marvel movie in years. The Star Wars stuff, the Lord of the Rings, even Game of Thrones, which I did finish the original game, but I haven't watched the new stuff. I'm just like, everything is so bad now. I can't imagine getting that hyped for just this like generic commercial trash that's all the same, you know?
No. Yeah, I don't watch any of that stuff. I saw a Zero Hedge tweet out just a moment ago. They said, if you were lucky enough to be in high school at this exact time in 1994, you could have gone to a movie theater and had your choice between Pulp Fiction, Shawshank Redemption, Jurassic Park, or Forrest Gump. And I was like, God, it's so fucked. We have nothing now. Nothing.
Yeah, it's real slim pickings.
I can always start one of these channels. Vote. Early voting starts October 29th in New York State. California early ballots just got sent out last week.
AOC really is like the e-girl politician. You know, I've been saying that for like a couple of years, but she's like the e-girl transcended into politics. And in all fairness, she is kind of charming. You know what I mean? Like
she missed her real calling, right? Like she actually probably would be like just a good social media personality if, you know, God forbid we didn't have to pretend she had power. Yeah.
Yeah. I predicted actually like a couple years ago that she was going to quit and become an e-girl, like a full-time like Twitch streamer, which hasn't come true yet. So maybe that was wrong. I don't know. Go ahead, Jackson.
I don't know. The more that her career goes along and the more criticism she receives from people that at one point in time may have supported her, she seems to be getting more and more unstable, and she is charming. But like with all the Alex Stein stuff recently, and so it just seems like she's getting more and more unstable as the days go on.
Yeah. So who are the politicians? I know there's no perfect politicians or great politicians even necessarily, but like who are the politicians that the communists like? If you don't like these socialist squad members, who do you like, or at least like prefer? Maybe is a better word.
We prefer mostly like I'd say Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massey. Thomas Massey is probably, when it comes to foreign policy and stuff like that, and a lot of domestic policies, I think he'd probably be the closest. But mostly like MAGA sort of. I don't know. They call themselves MAGA, libertarian populists, like that sort of a grouping of people.
So is this a Stalinist versus the Trotskyites showdown? Is that
we are Stalinists? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Shut up, silly woman.
Because for all of the emotional outrage that he causes when he says the words like the Jewish media, I mean, the media is kind of controlled by a lot of Jewish people.
I walked out the door.
So that was kind of another interesting roller coaster ride, that story. So that guy, tech lead, he put out a video called Why Kanye is Right About the Jews or something like that. And YouTube gave him a strike. They struck down the video for hate speech, but then it got reinstated on appeal. And then he privated it, though, after it came back. So it's just kind of interesting. I don't really have a lot to say about it. You can find the video. People have like re-uploaded it on YouTube. But I mean, I guess the thing that I would say is that like he's saying things that are kind of true, but you're not supposed to talk about it. Same as like what Kanye was saying, basically. I don't know if we even need to really go into it.
Walking to the hallway, somebody behind me like, stop. I'm like, what? They like, ain't nobody coming out of the classroom in the hallway. So when I paid attention, ain't nobody coming out of the classroom but us. As soon as they said that, all you heard was pow, 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 pow. And then they had shot our classroom door down. And a man opened the door. He was like, y'all finna die today. And he shot the teacher first. And when she fell to the floor, then another boy got shot in a hand and he was bleeding. And two other girls got shot. And then when he left the room, we opened the window and we jumped out.
They banging on Mr. Williams' door,
they shot like 4 times. It was a white man. He said, all y'all are going to die. Everyone is scared. It was too much going on, and I'm just glad that I'm okay.
So this is in St. Louis, and there was a school shooting. The shooter killed 2 people and then was shot and killed by police. So 3 deaths total, including the shooter. And he was black, in spite of what she just said. And not really a big story in the media. But it's always interesting to these interviews, just these interviews, just the way they talk is interesting, you know, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say.
I didn't even hear about this.
You didn't hear about that? Yeah, it really wasn't a big news story. And I was Googling it before the show started to see kind of, there was, so actually I did find
Wasn't
something.
there a really fast police response time? Like, isn't that kind of the part of this one? I don't know a ton, but
that's not what I saw. So this is,
okay.
A lot of the stuff I read wasn't that interesting. This is a CNN article that says that he had an AR-15 rifle, 600 rounds of ammo, and a note saying, "I don't have any friends. I don't have any family." It's like almost makes you feel bad for the guy. I guess what I would say about this, and this ties into what we were talking about the white supremacy thing and the FBI and Biden's like mandate for, you know, the biggest domestic terror threat is white supremacy. When in reality, most of these mass shooters, whether they're black or white, are kind of like sad losers who were bullied and just like angry at the world, you know? But I mean, even that doesn't happen that much. Like the real, you know, you're more likely to catch a stray bullet from like a gang shooting or something like that. Like if you really wanted to talk about gun violence and people dying, it's gang violence and stuff like that, that the numbers are relatively speaking astronomical on that. So yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I think the numbers are true, but I don't think they ever really matter in the discussion because the reason school shootings are so shocking is the innocence of the target, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's true. Yeah,
and it's not to say that like gang violence doesn't impact innocent people. It absolutely does, right? Like bystanders are killed all the time, but I think it's the fact that people go out of their way to place innocent children in danger. It's like saying that terrorism wasn't a big deal in 9/11 because people die in car crashes. It's like, that's true, but the nature of the attack is I think what gives it its gravity.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's totally true.
Okay, you heard the man say that?
Yes, with my own ears. Mm-hmm.
I see who you are. You are my enemy. My enemy. You are my enemy. I see who you are.
Okay, so this is on Xbox, and I believe it's the new Call of Duty game. Don't quote me on that, but they let you put in a little tag next to your name, like a clan tag, and you can put BLM, but if you try to put WLM, it is prohibited due to profanity. And the reason I wanted to include this is, well, I mean, it's newsworthy on its own that they blocked that. TikTok has also blocked White Lives Matter as a search term. But I also wanted to remind people that like this whole thing with Kanye West, it all started because he said White Lives Matter on a shirt. He didn't just wake up one day and start shit talking Jewish people in the Jewish media. Kanye said White Lives Matter. And then when people came to like, you know, talk him down off the ledge of white supremacy or whatever, then he said that Jews are sending you to talk to me. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if Jews sent P. Diddy to talk to Kanye, but it's sort of plausible given that you have organizations like the ADL saying, you know, the people, those are the people who lobby for these terms to be banned and blocked as hate speech. And they're Jewish organizations. So, you know, it's one thing to say, oh, he's anti-Semitic and this and that, but you should always keep in mind the whole reason this whole thing started is because he said White Lives Matter. Which you should be allowed to say. That's the point I'm making. You should be allowed, in case anybody was confused, you should be allowed to say that. It shouldn't be a big deal.
Remember, the left love Louis Farrakhan, and he's saying all this stuff, right? Like, so it's the like Kanye's big problem is he, like you said, he signaled the wrong team before he said it, right? They'll sweep Farrakhan or Omar under the rug and any of their comments because they didn't signal incorrectly before they said them. That they can disappear this stuff if they want to, but Kanye put himself on the wrong side of things, so that's why he's a target.
You are my enemy.
I didn't mean to include this. I didn't mean to include this. It's like an animatronic fish that went through the guy's leg. Kind of gruesome for YouTube.
Why,
I think that's
why didn't they kill the fish? That was like what I was thinking.
Well, I think it's animatronic. I think it's on a movie.
Oh,
that's what somebody said. I don't know. I don't even know. I didn't Google it. I didn't mean to include that, but that's what people were saying in the chat of the last one was that was like on a movie set and the fish is fake.
Oh,
I don't know. But it could just be a fake video too. Who knows? But yeah. So this is Lara Logan, whom I love. Having a QAnon meltdown on Newsmax. I don't know if you guys saw this.
Not okay with a closed border?
It's much bigger than that. God believes that in sovereignty and national identity and the sanctity of family and all the things that we've lived with from the beginning of time. And he knows that the open border is Satan's way of taking control of the world through all of these people who are his stooges and his servants. And they may think that they're going to become gods. That's what they tell us. Yuval Noah Harari and all the rest of them at the World Economic Forum. The ones who want us eating insects, cockroaches, and that while they dine on the blood of children.
Yeah.
Those are the people, right? They're not going to win. They're not going to win.
Well, yeah. All right. Well, let's hope. So, Laura, always good having you on. We'll get you back again very soon. Appreciate your time. And love the dog. Bring him back around wherever he or she is.
Just ludicrously based.
Okay, folks. Now, let's get back to the bite.
And she totally doubled down too. I included it in the full clip show. I didn't include it here, but she went on like another show and she was like, "They drink blood. I have the documents. Look, it says here like blood," like totally like Alex Jones style. Yeah. She's like, "Where do you think all the missing children are? Tens of thousands every year in the U.S. go missing. Where do you think they're going?"
Based.
Yeah. Anyways, what are you getting ready for? Where are you going? Is that poppers?
Never did.
So that's just for context for people watch. That's Madonna right there on the screen. That's the pop star.
That before.
Madonna.
No.
When my wife, she finds some of these clips and she's sent me this one. And when I was watching it, I was like, who is this ugly woman? She looks familiar, And I was like, oh shit, that's this ugly albino woman. Like she has that kind of weird, like, I don't know. She looks weird. Like she looks like deformed or something. I don't know. I don't want to be too harsh, but yeah. And my wife was like, why do people, and I was like, oh, you don't know, like from the Truth or Dare era, like she used to be really pretty. She was like our generation's Marilyn Monroe almost. Now she's on Instagram or whatever this is, doing poppers. There's a lot of people going crazy, a lot of, I know you said it already, Jackson. There's a lot of mental illness.
Are you all right?
I'm a Christian. Whoa. Everything's different, right?
Well, you know what? I usually sniff one of those.
I'm sorry. Okay, here's
from 1997, an OWI 3rd from 1997, an OWI 4th from 2003, criminal trespass to dwelling from 2006.
Right, I need to take a break. This man right now is having a stare down with me. It's very disrespectful. He pounded his fist. Frankly, it makes me scared. And we're taking a break.
So that is, of course, Daryl Brooks, I believe his name. This is the Waukesha SUV guy who murdered a bunch of people, 6 people or whatever it was, in the Christmas parade. And I mean, yeah, he is really staring down the judge there. He was found guilty on all charges. I don't believe he's been sentenced yet. I'm sure it'll be life in prison for this guy. But the one thought I had about this that I wanted to bring up is that this ties into the DOJ and the quest for white supremacy. And they did not go after this guy with hate crime charges. He has a history of not only making, racist comments about white people, but like wishing for violence on white people and stuff like that. His victims were all white. What's the word I'm looking for? They didn't go after for hate crime charges, which is the like federal, that's like the federal jurisdiction. They chose not to do that. If it was like James Field, who like hit a fat woman with his car back in Charlottesville, he got hate crime charges, even though the woman he killed was white. So there again, it's the double standard. It's the theme of the show, and I guess that's all I had to say about it. Did you guys have any thoughts on the Daryl Brooks situation to add to that? No. Did you guys watch the trial at all? There was some real antics and hijinks going on with this because he represented himself. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was his own lawyer, which I'm surprised they even let him do, but I guess he was competent enough.
Well, and that's how you know that the whole thing is, that's how you know the insane biases system. Because if anyone cared about objectivity, this would objectively be a complete media circus, right? You've got mass victims, you've got a horrific crime, you've got a clearly evil and mentally disturbed human, and you've got him doing insane things in the courtroom. Like this would be a 3-ring circus that would be covered wall to wall. Again, if there's any other circumstance, but it's bad for the narrative, it's bad for what's being pushed, and so it really should get rid of everyone's illusion of like the marketplace of ideas that the media just covers the things that if it bleeds it leads, and that's where it's focused. No, it's not. Like there's a very clear agenda, there's a very clear focus, there's a reason that every single media outlet simultaneously decided that a story that could have been a complete blowout for ratings was not even interesting for coverage. It has nothing to do with their appeal to, advertisers or journalistic credibility.
Yeah, there was one of the posts I did about this trial. I guess in his opening statement, he teared up. And so the media, like the headlines were Daryl Brooks opens with tearful opening statement. And so there was like a juxtaposition between that and the Kyle Rittenhouse thing where he cried and the media was like, look at this fucking dork with his crocodile tears, or what, you know what I mean? The kind of like the different way the treatment of those two guys in the media. One guy guilty of just vile crime and the other guy innocent, of course, but the way they get treated, you would think it's the exact opposite.
Is there somebody in your life close to you that you trust enough to call you out on your bullshit? We're all full of shit sometimes.
What's my bullshit?
Well, some of it I pointed out today, but I don't know you deeply enough.
Though? What was the bullshit?
Jewish media,
That's not bullshit. The bullshit is that the Jewish media won't admit.
Your dad was right. Your dad was right. The words you used, you weren't.
Said it. You're not gonna make me say it 800 more times.
I don't know if it resonated because you keep saying like the words.
Did it resonate to y'all that y'all ain't do nothing about it, and that all y'all want to do is have somebody apologize and sweep under the rug your bullshit that you've been doing the whole time? You on the same bullshit as the other people. So you're doing the same thing that the other, let's say media, because I'm not allowed to say, has done. So until somebody
Which is what, man?
I'm
trying to call you out on your bullshit because I hope I'm somebody you can trust.
I
That's
don't
it.
fucking trust you.
Well, you should find people in your life you can trust.
Don't tell me what I should do. I'm not one of your BLM marchers.
Listen, I'm with you on the BLM. A lot of organizations use tragedy. And I watched the Candace Owens documentary.
And what was your take on it?
I think it's important to question the mainstream narratives, but I don't agree with it. I still believe that George Floyd died from the knee of the cop, not from fentanyl.
And even if that was the case, there's still 50% of black deaths is actually abortion. So let's get into engineering. Let's just go, because
how do you fix that?
Population control is social engineering, and its most literal form.
All right, so I mean that was a fascinating interview, and I had a whole bunch of clips, but I that one was like one of my favorites, so I included it because I just like the way Kanye pushes back and doesn't let people tell him what to do. And the way, if you watch the whole interview, the way he's smiling, it's like here's a guy who is free. You know what I mean? They might crush his empire and take his money, but they can't control him, and he's not willing to let people control him. So I thought that was a big L for Lex Friedman personally, the way he handled that and the way Kanye responded to it. I thought Lex took the L. Did you guys watch that?
Yeah, and I agree. I think Lex definitely took the L on that. And I've watched a bunch of, I mean, I've seen Kanye in interviews forever, but like recently, you know, he's kind of gone on like the media tour and done a bunch of interviews for obvious reasons. And like this was the most unnecessarily, like it felt like the whole time he was just trying to create a hostile situation, which never plays off well. And I think Kanye stood his ground well. And it kind of reminded me of Fuentes was on No Jumper a few weeks ago, and it kind of had a similar sort of tone this interview carried, and it just doesn't play off well for the interviewer.
Yeah.
No matter what happens next month, more than a third of the nation that would go along with this is reason to be afraid. America needs to repent for its worship of whiteness on full display.
My question is, do you believe that people should be compelled by law to vaccinate themselves or their children?
So this is one of my more controversial positions. My answer is yes. The reason that my answer is yes is because the vaccination science is extraordinarily clear.
All right. Speaking of taking L's, Ben Shapiro I think he apologized recently for his take on the COVID vaccine, which he was very sort of vocally like you should take it. You're stupid if you don't take it. I was, again, because I mentioned I didn't know a lot about you, Jackson, so I wanted to look up your history on the COVID vaccine. What came up when I did a little search was this tweet from 2021 where this guy is trying to get you banned from YouTube for spreading misinformation. Now, in the clip, I'm not going to play it because you guys won't be able to hear the audio because of the way Streamlabs is, but you basically just said that, like, well, it's anti-working class because they're mandating this thing that a lot of the working people don't want. And then you said, and it doesn't even really like effectively like stop transmission, which is the part that this guy's trying to get you banned for saying, right? He said, oh, you can't say it doesn't stop transition. Now, obviously, your take has aged well. And so I guess the question is, are you declaring amnesty for these people who I'm sure have never apologized to you for trying to like ruin your livelihood, for the crime of being right? And speaking,
I wouldn't accept their apology. I wouldn't accept it, and I don't think anyone should. Now, I will say, despite me being correct here, when the COVID stuff was initially happening, I think like most people, there was just very few people that saw through the BS. And if you did, more power to you. And I didn't at first. But I quickly woke up to what was happening. And I don't think I was like dogmatic about anything. I simply was just asking questions, and questions that many other people asked before me. And for that, what, you're going to try to strip someone of their livelihood? You're going to try to, like, this is what this is what you're supposed to do as a journalist. This is what we're supposed to do as just people living in a country, is we're supposed to challenge the establishment. You're supposed to encourage general skepticism and debate. And we don't have that. We had, that's why I put out a tweet the other day, and it blew up in a sort of controversial manner. I said the Soviet Union literally encouraged more skepticism than the Biden administration allows in our country today. And they can say anything they want. They could celebrate their National Journalism Day, where they parade around all their little White House correspondents and give them a nice dinner and say, we appreciate what you do. But again, they're silencing people, they're disappearing people, they are putting people, if they're high profile enough, in prison. The stories keep coming, and this is just the reality of where we're at now. And then most of all, you have the ruthless censorship on the internet that is only getting worse as the days go on. And we just had that huge story this week leak from The Intercept about those court documents that showed that the DHS is literally encouraging social media platforms to remove certain posts about COVID or Ukraine or whatever,
Not just encouraging, they had a portal built for them that they could log into and just like flag individual tweets and be like, take this down, take this down. I mean, that's a huge story. That is insane. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah.
No, it's worse than what Edward Snowden exposed, because Snowden exposed that they're collecting our data and they could spy on us via that data, right? And other things like back channels of major telecommunication companies. But this is like, they're literally just outright telling the public what is true or false. That is a gross violation of our free speech.
Yeah, well, and censoring people, right? Just like straight up censoring people. So yeah.
People wonder why we need a union.
Do you guys think anything is going to come of that? Like to me, that's more impeachable than anything Trump did. The fact that the White House is behind a lot, like that's coming from the Biden administration, those mandates say to the FBI, the DOJ, saying you need to get these people banned from Twitter and stuff like that. I mean, that's obviously First Amendment violations. If the Constitution meant anything anymore, that would be there would, somebody has to pay. You know what I mean?
If the ACLU did anything anymore of substance, they would probably challenge it, right? Not just write a tweet about it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the fact that they tweet, it's a sad state of affairs when you're like impressed that they wrote a tweet.
Yeah.
Well, one of the mistakes that a lot of people, especially conservatives, make is thinking that just the words in the Constitution kind of protect them and solve that problem, right? Like, you can formalize those protections if you want, but if no one in positions of power, if no one who actually operates the bureaucracy or the actual government is interested in upholding those standards, then really the only thing they need to do is figure out how to circumvent them. And so that's what a lot of this was. That's why the corporate government institutional arrangement has been so important, because it's allowed the kind of the regime to outsource its censorship to entities that aren't directly necessarily subject to the First Amendment, the rest of the Bill of Rights. And so if these people aren't actively willing to enforce these things, then no, I don't think there's going to be any kind of actual backlash, at least through the law.
Yeah, well, there is like lawsuits that are uncovering this stuff, so I don't know what the end results of those are going to be, but hopefully something. Okay, did you guys see this clip that was going around? This is a real treat.
At Starbucks, and I am literally about to quit. Like, I don't know if I'm going to do it, but like, I really want to. I almost walked out today, and I'm crying in the back room right now, and I almost cried on the floor. It's just, I'm like a full-time student. I get scheduled for 25 hours a week, and then on weekends they schedule me the entire day, open to close. I'm on the schedule for 8.5 hours, both Saturday and Sunday. I'm like, 3.5 hours into my shift. There's so many customers, and we have 4 people on the floor all day. Only 5 people were put on the schedule, and somebody had to call out. And there are 4 people running the whole store, and there's so many customers, and there's possibly scheduled 5 people. We only have...
Maybe you should be working then, not fucking sitting in the back crying into your phone camera. I don't know. So there's probably some people out front waiting for their coffee. Or
13 people employed at this store, and there's so many customers. And they are good. We don't have fair scheduling. Managers don't care about us. Our manager was supposed to come in this weekend, and he took himself off the schedule, so he wouldn't be able to be held accountable for calling out. He just literally tore down the schedule that he was scheduled on and put up a new schedule where he wasn't on the schedule. Also, he couldn't have even seen that he was scheduled in the first place because he didn't want to be held accountable for not wanting to come in. They don't want to help us. We need a union because this can't happen. This can't happen. We need fair scheduling. We need managers to hold themselves accountable for helping their workers. They refuse to turn mobile orders off. We need the liberty to be able to do that because there's so many mobile orders and I need to get through all of them. And then people are yelling at me because I don't have their orders ready.
Okay, I mean, this is your people, Jackson. This is the workers of the world who are going to unite, right? And control the means of production, the means of the coffee production.
Abolish baristas. Could you imagine though? Like so when I look at this video, what I think about is, like both of my grandfathers fought in World War II. Could you imagine if we had this problem of testosterone, low testosterone levels during World War II, like they'd come back and they'd be like, and we stormed D-Day, and my commanding officer was so rude to me, and Hitler toxic.
I will
He's
say,
so toxic.
Spoiler alert: this person is a biological female. We didn't get to that part of the video.
I don't know what the fuck it is. It's like it's crazy. It's crazy.
So I'm actually interested because, especially given the footage before with the vaccine, Jackson, I'm not super familiar with your work, but I'm interested when you have someone like this, obviously, and this is this is what they're calling for with unionization. But then we know that a lot of unions were at the forefront for pushing the vaccine, right? So they care about unions to make sure, like, no one's mean to them or that they get another person on the shift. But when it comes to actual union protection, like you said, the vaccine is largely an attack on workers, right? And so when we saw, for instance, the airlines where the unions were trying to force alongside with the government and the airlines vaccinations, it was actually a wildcat strike by the pilots that generated this. So kind of how, from your perspective, how does all this interact with like massified unions and corporations?
I don't give
a
fuck about unions. I don't give a fuck about unions. At the end of the day, it's like they're controlled. Well, first of all, you have to look at the class of people such as whatever this is. It's like they are not producing anything. They're not actively producing any sort of labor. We have like a service economy. These people are just like rogue ideologues. They don't have any sort of interest in pushing for material changes for the working conditions of the labor production class in our country. Like, what does a Starbucks worker have anything in common, or a Twitter censor overlord, or a Google employee, a Netflix employee that's complaining about Dave Chappelle? What do they have in common with the farmers of our country? Nothing. So that's what I claim to be. That's what I think most people see to be like the real workers of our country. The truckers, for example, people who keep the country running. Starbucks workers, like, I could care less. Just get rid of them,
All right, fair enough. I'm still trying to decide if this whole communist thing is just a LARP on your part, because we agree on a lot of stuff, but shouldn't you, as a communist, want this person to be in charge of, right? Worker co-ops? Shouldn't everything be a worker co-op? I know that's what Vosh always says.
That's like soy blue hair leftist shit. That's the utmost bastardization of communism. that's why, I think whatever Jordan Peterson, he does he makes a lot of fair points, and I listen to what he says sometimes, and sometimes I agree. But he's reacting to this bastardization of communism. Like, we're talking about like capital C communism, Stalinism. You think that Stalin would have tolerated shit like this? Never.
Well, no, but that's because he stopped the communist revolution, right? Like, that's what Stalin does is he nationalizes communism, right? Like, that's what allows him to arrest the degeneration of the revolution and make it functional.
Well, that's a different conversation. I think nationalization is in order. I mean, national banking, I think, is a good place to start. But this is like this sort of. I mean, like, even you can just boil it down to what your country's values are, what your country's morals are, and having a safe, stable, and healthy country amongst the populace. This doesn't represent anything of the sort. This is. I know I've said it multiple times, but it's like the type of videos we're reacting to. You can even look at like Russia today, Putin today, or Xi Jinping today. I get it. Putin's not a communist, whatever, but he still has that material background of growing up in a Soviet system. This is a uniquely Western normalized sort of human. And it's not normal at all. This is mental illness. And we do have a really big issue, and there's a bunch of reasons for that. But the people who are pushing all this gender ideology, so on and so forth, this is the byproduct of it, and it's why we have the problems we have.
Agreed.
They don't know what to do. And a customer was misgendering me today, like really badly. I didn't have their order ready, and so they were just like talking to each other, and they're like, "She's clearly incompetent." I have a full mustache and beard. What the fuck? I don't get accommodations for being neurodivergent. I don't. Like, I can't use. People get mad at me for using my sick time. I don't even know what to do anymore. I'm like at my wit's end with this job. I really am. I just want to be able
depend on whether we can afford valid ID. I think that's a reference to voting and how you need, but you don't even need an ID to vote. So I'm not sure what other rights you don't have without ID. Do you guys have any idea what they're getting at there? What the point is even that's being made?
I'm pretty sure it's voting. I think
it's voting probably, right?
Yeah. One of the things is they don't want those issues to be fixed, right? Like they want to complain about them. So like even if you do something absolutely insane, which having ID-less voting is absolutely insane, but even if you do something like that, they're just going to continue to pretend like that problem for them still exists. They didn't want it solved in the first place. They wanted to complain about it.
What does it cost to get an ID? Like $20?
Something like that.
Black. 3, 2, 1.
Well, all right, y'all. That's what I'm talking about. Hand clap for y'all. Yeah.
I'm glad that we all strongly agree.
I am proud to be white. 3, 2, 1.
Just be in the middle.
Yeah. Can there be a middle?
All right.
You're not allowed to stay in the middle. You have to go.
Don't hate you guys.
Shout out the chonker who actually went to the other side.
I almost went there too. It's like
I think
so
like
hard.
guiltily, like I'm like happy that I'm not oppressed, but I'm not proud of like things people have done in the past.
When I think of being proud of something, I think of something I worked for.
Okay. Fascinating video. shout out to the person at Jubilee who came up with that idea, because that is a good idea. I have some thoughts, but do you guys have anything you want to say about that?
Curious to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. Okay. So this is my thing on it. And this kind of ties into something that I talked about a while. So Mr. Girl, who I talk about a lot, I don't know if you guys even know Mr. Girl. He did this like white grievance panel with Destiny and some other people like a month or so back, maybe a little bit more than that now. And they got onto this topic of like, are you allowed to be proud to be white? And he's like, you should say it. And I'm going to tweet out, I'm proud. And he goes on Twitter and he's like, I'm proud to be white. And he did it with this kind of like smirk of like, haha, I'm trolling the libs or whatever. Like, you're not supposed to say this. And my problem with it is that if you want to actually make the point in a way that's real, it has to be beyond, I'm just trolling the shit libs by, you're basically pretending in that, like, that's how it came across to me. And so like, what I want to see people do is like, I'm proud to be white because white people have made like numerous, contributions to civilization in arts and culture and literature and science and technology, philosophy, morality, all of these things. And so that's the part that I'm proud of. And then as to the point that everybody makes, which is like, well, you should only be proud of something you did yourself. It's like, look, but so in my hometown of Swift Current, Saskatchewan, where I grew up on the prairies of Canada, there's a soccer field named after my father, Perry Field, because my father for his whole life was involved in the local soccer association, coaching, reffing, being on the board, all this stuff. And after like 30 years of doing that, they named one of the fields in his honor. So that makes me proud of my father, because that's an accomplishment, right? It has nothing to do with me, but we're connected by blood. So it's the same thing for race. It's maybe the connection is less, but it's like I'm more connected to European history than somebody who isn't white. So that's why I have that connection. That's my heritage, and I'm proud of it. I'm proud of that heritage. So that's my thoughts on that. I would have just walked all the way over to the far stage left or far right side and just been like, yeah, I love it. I love being white. If I was in that experiment.
What's interesting is the dynamic of the look on everybody's face. They look like there's a commissar off screen that's ready to just, because they all know the consequence, right? Like and that's the thing, is this interaction is always a dare, right? Like, okay, these people are going to say it. They're going to say it about their identity, and these people are going to talk about their pride and their identity, and these people are going to do it, and then they're going to turn to you and they're going to dare you, like I said, like a commissar with the confidence of holding a gun to the head, being like, "And now what do you say, comrade?" And that's really that's the attitude, that's the approach, and this is it's a ritual. It's a public humiliation ritual. People who know they can ask a question and force a particular response that is going to be culturally jarring to anyone who's paying attention, and kind of sets a dynamic and understanding. And I think everyone on that video very clearly knows that. Like every one of the people in the second scenario with all the white people asked to step, they all know that, and you can see it on their faces. You can literally see the panic,
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why people should be prepared to explain why they're proud of white heritage. I mean, I know a lot of people also will say like, oh, well, you're Anglo or whatever, you're not white. I don't really like that whole thing. It's just like, we know what people mean when they say white. It's like European, right? And a really good one is the whole slavery thing. Like I'd say like, I'm proud of white people because of their moral contributions to civilization. And people are like, what do you mean? Well, white people ended slavery, which it happened all over the world. Everybody was doing it. And white people said, we should put a stop to this. So white people from Britain went out and ended slavery. And I think like that makes me proud. And then their heads kind of explode. So they're like, what do you mean? White people are the slavers. They're evil, Anyway.
But it's very clear. If you think about what Democrats want to do, if you think about what congressional Democrats and this president have already done, lower costs. If you think about what we're doing with our economic policies, creating jobs, making an economy that doesn't leave anybody behind, but builds it from the bottom up and the middle out, that is so incredibly important. And what congressional Republicans want to do is take that all away.
No, here's the thing. We may not like when Republicans win, but we don't go and we don't storm. We don't try to change, but we'll go to court. We don't do that.
Did I miss an entire year of Antifa riots where cities across this country were burning and police cars were being firebombed?
I guess you did.
Your position is the left doesn't engage in violence? Really?
No.
I hate the fact of all the institutions that I hate, the leftists, is the fact checkers. Because I'm on Facebook, I have like a big page on there, and I get dinged all the time, and it's so one-sided, it's so partisan. Oh God, I hate it. So they fact checked Ted Cruz, and they're like, well, it wasn't really Antifa riots, it was George Floyd riots, and it wasn't for a year, it was for a couple of months, and so it's false.
Only a few months. It's only a few months of riots.
The reason they do this, you have to understand, the reason they do this is because if you have a conservative Facebook page and you clip that and you put it on your page and you like, Ted Cruz shuts down The View or whatever, they hit you with the fact check and then you're throttled for like a year. You're punished, right? You're suppressed in your reach. That's why the fact checkers exist, and that's why they're partisan organizations. It's used to suppress conservative media. And the thing they always argue is, like the lib shits, they're like, well, actually, we looked and conservatives have more engagement on Facebook, so they're not being, and it's like, yeah, but that's in spite of the censorship. It doesn't mean the censorship isn't happening. It just means that when you live in a clown world with absolutely crazy batshit people running around, that reactionary ideas become popular. That's all that means, you know? Anyway, do you guys have anything to add to that?
It's just the tyranny of expertise, right? Like they can label a politically convenient position or politically biased service as experts or fact checkers. They give people titles, they give people credentials, and they get to roll out these people and have them enforce their narrative under the guise of, you know, neutrality and objectivity and expertise. This is something we see again. This is just a feature of our managerial regime. This is just part and parcel of the way that they push their ideology.
Yeah, and there's no accountability when they get things wrong. You know, there's no like, oh, sorry, we banned you. You know what I mean? Like all the people who got banned or censored on Facebook for posting like Kyle Rittenhouse memes before he was found innocent. You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
What is Steve gonna do?
How do you feel? How do you feel when you see something beautiful and priceless being apparently destroyed before your eyes?
There's been a kind of uptick of the environmental stuff in the last few weeks, hasn't there? Have you guys noticed that? Mm-hmm. I'm really tuned into the clip sphere, so I've noticed there's been like a lot more clips of these kind of annoying people, and it doesn't feel like super organic to me. It feels kind of fake and gay, like everything else in the world. And you know, if you want to piss people off, don't throw a can of soup at the Mona Lisa. Throw it at a rainbow flag. You know what I mean? Or if you want to piss people off, you know what I mean? If you want to get a reaction, I don't know. If it was me, though, like people who try to deface these priceless works of art, that would be like 75 years in jail. Like, even though there's the bulletproof glass and you're not actually, it doesn't matter. You'd be punished as if you had accomplished the thing that you're LARPing to do. And it would be like a huge punishment. Huge part, but you never hear about these people getting cracked down on, do you?
Well, the people who run these galleries agree with them, right? Like they're on side with them politically. Like maybe they don't want some particular art piece destroyed, but these people aren't destroying those art pieces. They're protected. This is all performative. All these people know that they're going to be let off with a warning. They know that the gallery is not going to press charges, and they get to send their message. The actual painting isn't destroyed. It's not actually damaged, and all the people are on side. This is all containment. This is all people who agree with each other, going through the motions and putting on a show to advance, their agendas with no actual consequences to anyone involved.
I don't see how they like keep allowing this to happen unless it's planned to a certain degree and allowed, it's orchestrated. Because I mean, like every museum I've been to, art museum I've been to, there's always like, I mean, like you go into, especially if you go into like the more rare rooms where there's like rarer art, there's always multiple security on site. So how do they keep the most like rare, expensive paintings in the world? How do they keep doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to New York.
Son gentes drogadas. Eso está probado.
So we're at about 90 minutes in this video. I just want to check in with you guys and see how you're doing. There's not too much left in the video. Let me see. I think we got about a little bit under 3 minutes of clip. So are we okay for everything?
Good.
All right.
And while we did not want the mansion, that mansion came with a pool, and the pool I wanted. And the dream was to open this pool and make it a public pool, turn it into the people's pool, and ensure that young people across Pennsylvania could learn how to swim and learn water safety, and kind of work to right some of the wrongs. Historically, swimming in America is very racist. And usually when you look at drowning statistics, it usually affects children of color because of lack of access.
So, all right, we got all this money for BLM. Now, we didn't want a mansion, you guys. I didn't want the mansion, but I needed the swimming pool, and the mansion was attached to the swimming pool. And the reason I needed the swimming pool is because swimming is racist. You understand? So I had to buy the mansion so that we could make swimming not be racist anymore. You see how that all works? Wild.
She's got to be one of the worst people on the planet. Like, not for this in particular, but like, also, I didn't know Politicon is still doing stuff. This is a Politicon podcast or something. I don't know. I mean, we all know, but like, how do you put your husband through this just because you want power? Like, how are you that sick and twisted? I don't know.
So we were able to open.
Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I was just doing girl stuff because it's day one of girlhood. I'm so excited to be a girl. My name is Taylor.
So that's a parody, obviously, of that Dylan character. Quite funny.
And to follow up on
here we go.
The promotion of the movie and the book.
So just for context, this clip is like a little bit over a week old. So just for context, this is like a little bit over, and so there's been some developments since this, but we'll watch the clip and then talk about it.
Please stop calling it a promotion. What am I promoting?
Put it out on your platform.
But I'm promoting it? Do you see me in front of the
putting it out there, people are going to say that you are
promoting. Yeah, put it out there just like you put things out there, right?
Yeah, but it's not.
You put things out there for a living, right?
Right, but my stuff is not.
So let's move on.
Filled
let's
with
move on.
Anti-Semitic.
Let's move on. Don't dehumanize me up here.
I'm not doing that.
Another human being. I can post whatever I want. So say that and shut it down and move on to the next question.
But Kyrie, you have to understand that
I don't have to understand anything from you.
It's not me.
Nothing.
It's
no people that you're making up, bro. Move on.
But by posting
move
what
on.
you
Next
did,
question.
Anybody
do you guys have any more questions?
And they're going to say,
"You guys have any more questions?" Because this is going to be a clip. This is going to be a clip that he's going to marvel at. Is this any more questions?
But you're not answering the question.
Oh, this is another answering your question. Oh my God! Let's make another Instagram clip so we could be famous again. Next question.
Kyrie, basketball related.
Okay, so like I said, that was like a week ago. And even at that time, the tweet was 2 weeks old. So basically, as far as I've been able to sort of put the timeline together, Kyrie Irving, the basketball player, who's also notably like kind of one of the poster children for not getting vaccinated as an athlete. There was him and what was that guy? Aaron Rodgers, I think is his name, the football player. I'm not a big sports guy. I think that's his name. And then that tennis player who they wouldn't let into those are kind of like the poster children for not getting vaccinated. Anyway, he tweets out this movie, and I think some people maybe like kind of raised their eyebrows at the time, but it wasn't a big deal. 2 weeks later, this reporter is like, why did you 2 weeks later, he's like, why did you do that? And Kyrie's like, that was 2 weeks ago. Like, move on with your life. What are you doing? It's a movie. I tweeted it, whatever. Watch it or don't. Make your own mind up kind of thing. Now, since then, he eventually, after that clip came out, there was a bunch of articles written about it. Oh, Kyrie Irving, anti-Semitic movie. I don't know what is anti-Semitic about the movie. I haven't seen it. I want to watch it. I just haven't had time. He gets suspended from the Nets, the basketball team, for 5 games without pay, which is like a lot of money at his level. After the suspension, he apologizes. He's like, I'm sorry. I'm going to go to the Holocaust Museum. How could I do this? He offers to make a $500,000 donation to the ADL. The ADL says, no, we're not taking your filthy anti-Semite money, which is very strange. This weird, like, what kind of nonprofit org can turn down $500,000 just to sort of like humiliate somebody or whatever? I don't know. It's kind of weird. Then this is a recent development. Nike cancels the shoe deal. This guy tweeted a movie that you can watch on Amazon. You know what I mean? It's costing him millions of dollars because he tweeted out a movie that is maybe kind of flaky. I don't know. I haven't seen it. It's wild. It's wild the way he's getting cracked down on. What do you guys think about all this?
Is he a Hebrew Israelite? Is he one of those guys? Or,
well, I think the movie. I can't because I haven't seen it. I don't think he is, but I think the movie is in that vein. I want to say.
Yeah, so I'm not a basketball guy, so I just don't. I'm not really following, but I've just seen the thing, everything pop up, and I wondered because I feels like a lot of this is coming from that community. It feels like that has a lot of influence in some of these celebrity communities.
He did keep saying in a clip that was released like 2 days ago, he got grilled for as well. He was saying, "I can't be an anti-Semite if I know where I come from."
I saw that.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's one of those things.
Yeah. But this is insane. I mean, just think back, like a year ago, you had Lil Nas X release his like satanic Nike blood shoe, right?
Yeah.
And that was fine. Everyone had to come out and defend him for for any criticism that someone might put forward about him releasing a satanic blood shoe.
Yeah, didn't he around the same time he did like a music video where he's like getting lap dances from the devil or something like
Yes. And now you have that. And then now this guy, it comes out and he promotes a movie that's on Amazon. And again, he's treated worse than Jeffrey Epstein post 2008, child sex trafficking charges by the media.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, man. Well, we could talk about it more, but we'll never get a sneaker deal if we go on. So let's just finish out the clips here.
Hi, I'm Nathan.
Hello.
It's nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you. I'm Samantha.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
So in terms of dating, what is something that is like an automatic deal breaker?
I can be really chatty sometimes, and I've had a lot in my past where people will like, I'll talk about something and then I'll just cut me off. I need someone who will listen to me.
What is something that you watch by yourself that's a guilty pleasure that you don't tell anybody?
I mean, I watch a lot of anime. I watch
Me too.
a lot of Asian shows like Korean dramas.
What is your type?
I'm definitely very into Asian men. It's not like a deal breaker or anything.
What race do you think I am?
I have no idea. I don't want to make assumptions.
You want to take a guess?
I would say like maybe white to Asian, maybe?
I am Asian, actually.
Oh.
Yeah. Can we hug?
Sure.
Okay. Hi. How are you?
Good. You're needing a hug.
Thank you.
Why, Nathan?
We get along on a lot of different topics, but I felt that it was something where I could become a really good friend with you.
Yeah, yeah.
That's just kind of a gut feeling for me.
Just a gut feeling I had right after hugging you that maybe we were more friends. Oh boy. I love that.
Would you be nice like that if you were on this show though? Like if it was me, I'd just be like, I want someone who's like healthy, you know?
I probably would be, to be honest. I think most people are a lot more polite in face to face
like
than
that's
they
like
are
dick,
on the
though,
internet.
you know? Like everyone knows what you just did.
Yeah. Are you woke on the anime question, Jackson, or do you have any thoughts on that?
MAGA communists stand for outlawing all anime.
Based. Okay, good to hear. Good to hear. Yeah, I think we're just about done. Let me see.
No, that's totally valid. Yeah.
Feel it for real, though.
You should feel it.
Yeah, feel it for real.
Go. Run free, little man.
Oh my God.
Oh, no! Is he okay? Oh my God. He's running away.
Oh.
Oh no! No!
Life's a bitch and then you die. Yeah, so those are the clips. So what, should we have a big debate about communism now? No, I'm just joking. Listen, guys, thanks for doing the show. Really appreciate it. For everybody watching, I put links, of course, to where you can find these guys on the internet. They're on YouTube, they're on Twitter, other places as well. Do you have anything you'd like to plug before we go? Anything you'd like to... I mean, normally we would do super chats, but I gotta say, I didn't see any coming in. Let me check real quick here. There was... Okay, so we did get $2 on Odyssey, and it says you can't stop progress, especially in broad daylight. That's from Sun and Rad. Thank you for the tip. Not exactly sure what that's in reference to, but okay, so very short super chat section. That's all right. But yeah, if you guys have any plugs or anything, any final words, go. Why don't you start us off, Jackson?
My only plug is you should all subscribe to me on YouTube, The Dive with Jackson Hinkle, which is linked somewhere
in the description.
Yes. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming. And Auron.
Yeah, thanks, LP. Glad we could finally do this. You've asked me a couple times. We haven't been able to put it together, so I was glad finally able to join you. But yeah, I've got my stream tomorrow on the YouTube channel, so if everyone wants to check that out. And then I've got my Substack, The Total State. You can check that out as well.
Auron, you said earlier in the stream that you have your theories about where power comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to give us 2 cents on that before we go?
Yeah, sure. Nothing that people who are familiar with me haven't heard. Just that a lot of our power is informal, and a lot of it flows from, kind of a decentralized network of bureaucracies, be they media, be they universities, be they permanent government bureaucracies. We have a lot of ideologically aligned people who coordinate in a somewhat of a class structure across. Especially across managerial lines across all of those different organizations. And so it's very difficult for people to understand what it takes to change things in the United States, because they're usually thinking that if they can just kind of vote for one person and that one person switches out the heads of a few agencies, then kind of policy directions and cultural directions will be reversed. But our problems are far more fundamental and structural and difficult, and so they take a kind of a different mindset when it comes to what we're looking at.
Cool. Yeah, makes sense. All right, guys. Thanks for coming on the show. Thanks everybody for watching. Tomorrow night, we have Can't Stop Progress on Odyssey and Cozy. So you can check us out there for the new show. And we will catch you all on the flip side. Peace out.